It's late at night in a military outpost in the Kirov region. An alarm suddenly rings to signal soldiers as enemies approach their fortified base. Soldiers then position themselves to defend the outpost border while attentively listening to the information regarding the enemy's description and whereabouts. The army maintains their stance despite being confused. Then, they aim laser weapons at the Blue Forest. 1 month earlier, Oleg properly meets Elena on a dinner date at a fancy restaurant. Elena dubiously listens to Oleg's proud story of his life. He proudly mentions his voluntary enlistment for Special Airborne Brigade. Elena then switches to being interested in his stories. Meanwhile, a sudden blackout occurs in the entire world except for a small area in Europe. Everyone within the blackout areas collapsed unexpectedly. Amid the blackout, Oleg and Elena are oblivious about the problem happening in the world. A couple minutes later, a swarm of drones appear to signal Oleg about an emergency. Perplexed, Oleg and Elena hastily go to the ground floor to watch the news along with other residents. The news announces that their city has lost contact with the rest of the world. Therefore, their remaining city is now proclaimed as the Circle of Life. Meanwhile, Major Dolmatov, inside the combat aircraft, commands his men of their new designation. Then, he orders journalist Oyla to remain silent throughout the mission. Next, they immediately commence the search for survivors upon landing at the neighboring town. Olya then starts to record the active search with her camera. Upon entering a grocery store, they discover several corpses on the ground. The oblivious soldiers begin questioning the cause of their sudden deaths. Afterward, they resume their search in the entire building. Kolya, one of the soldiers, gets attacked by an unknown perpetrator. The soldiers rush to the scene and catch a glimpse of the perpetrator fleeing through a window. They continuously open fire, but the perpetrator manages to survive and hide. Kolya luckily survived with minor injuries. However, his weapons are taken by the perpetrator. Later on, the soldiers carry Kolya on a stretcher back to the combat aircraft. They all flee the town. Dolmatov reports no survivors in the town and one unidentified perpetrator. 1 month has passed since the city lost contact with the world. The authorities order citizens to remain calm, yet ignored by most religious groups. Sometime later, Yura, a cab driver, devastatingly receives a letter to join the military. His sick mother stays behind as he leaves for the mandatory enlistment. One morning in the military outpost in Kirov, Lieutenant Colonel Marina arrives. Inside the military barracks, she enters and introduces herself to newly recruited soldiers. She orderly discusses the upcoming mission of the soldiers. Later on, she delivers devastating news about the missing tanks and soldiers sent to the quarantine zone. Consequently, the atmosphere in the barracks becomes silent. Sometime later at night, Oleg and Yura, one of the newly recruited soldiers, are conversing. Elena, a military medic, suddenly appears in a military suit. Oleg is astonished to see her again after a month of being apart. Prior to the beginning of the film, the soldiers start their formation as the red alarm sound sets off. Marina radios Dolmatov of unidentified creatures hastily approaching their post. Suddenly, strong magnetic radiation is detected in their area. The lights shut off consequently. Dolmatov fires his flare gun to get a clear view of the target location. He shoots his flares the second time. Suddenly, numerous bears appear running towards them. Dolmatov hastily orders his soldiers to open fire. Unfortunately, bears manage to reach their position to attack them. Oleg passed out during the attack. The next morning, Oleg, covered in blood, wakes up underneath the bloody remains of a bear. Yura pulls him out to place onto a stretcher. Sometime later, Oleg reunites again with Elena in a military hospital bed. Coincidentally, Elena is in charge of his treatment. She fails to mention working in the same field as him during their dinner date a month ago. She claims not wanting to ruin the mood that night. Sometime later, Dolmatov questions Marina of the sudden occurrence of hundreds of bears in the outpost. In response, Marina informs him of her discovery about the sensors. Sensors are humans that have the ability to receive data in their mind, she explains. She confidently believes that sensors are capable of facing the current global issues. Simultaneously, in a military hospital, Sasha, a member of Sensors, is fearingly having a nightmare. In his dream, he sees a scary bald man turning to look at him. Immediately, he wakes up sweating and stunned with Xenia's presence on his bed. Xenia is sent by Id, an alien, to meet him. He warns him of the end of humanity if Sasha wouldn't help out. Feared, Sasha refuses to believe him. He angrily calls on the two soldiers guarding him to send Xenia away. However, the two soldiers are puzzled. Xenia appears invisible to their eyes except for Sasha. They immediately conclude that Sasha's hallucinating. They hastily call a doctor to check on him. Days later, military units prepare to depart the Circle of Life to conduct a reconnaissance operation. Oleg insists on joining the mission despite being injured. The soldiers depart through military vehicles, tanks, and combat aircraft. Meanwhile, inside a moving military vehicle, Olya curiously interviews Yura's opinion about the deaths of millions of people. Yura arrogantly responds and shoos the cameraman away from him. Yet, Olya still signals her cameraman to continue recording even if he is against it. Yura then admits he's unbothered about the deaths since they're not affiliated to him anyway. Moreover, he believes whatever's happening is a chance for him to start a new life. After some time, they arrive at the quarantine zone. The soldiers are flabbergasted by the completely devastated neighboring city. Subsequently, the news about the city reaches the public. Thereafter, experts conclude that there are enemies that the government is hiding from them. As this bursts to the public angrily engages in a rally to attack the soldiers. Consequently, a press conference of superior military officers occurs. In their conclusion, the Circle of Life is fighting against an unknown group of people. They send out special units to observe the affected areas and go deeper to the quarantine zone. Subsequently, Yura's squad, called the Travel 7, are fully equipped as they depart from the border of the Circle of Life. On their mission, Olya is with them again. Olya curiously asks Lieutenant Maxim Kasatkin, their squad leader, what she should do if an enemy attacks them. Lieutenant Maxim sarcastically answers, "In your case, scream." Offended, Olya intimidatingly talks back that made the lieutenant mad. Yura steps in to cut off the dispute. Afterwards, they continue their journey. On the other hand, Oleg's squad, called Travel 4, arrives at Karkino village. They survey their surroundings and find no signs of movement. One of the soldiers, named Lavrin, screams and alerts the squad. The whole squad rushes to his spot only to discover his leg pierced by a metal rod. Unhesitatingly, Oleg pulls the rod from his leg as he screams in pain. Simultaneously, in Kurdi village, Travel 7 arrives. As the night comes, they enter a tall building to serve as their observation base. The next morning, a military vehicle arrives at Travel 4's base. Elena exits the vehicle carrying her medicine kit. Oleg is surprised by her arrival. He gladly welcomes her. Elena immediately enters their base to treat Lavrin's wound. On the other hand, Yura wakes Olya for breakfast. Later on, Lieutenant Maxim orders Yura to stand his post on the window. As Yura observes, he notices an open door on the mini store nearby. He hurriedly asks Olya for her camera to check her video recordings from last night. To his surprise, the recording contains footage of the mini store with a closed door. Concurrently, Sasha is resting in a shed when Id abruptly appears in front of him. Id is the alien whom Xenia has talked about before. This time, Sasha thinks he's hallucinating again. But Id imposes that he's real and not a hallucination. Moreover, Id insists Sasha to join him in locating the scary bald man whom he dreamed about. Id introduces the scary bald man as his brother, Ra. However, Sasha refuses to join him. Shortly after, Marina walks into the shed to fetch Sasha, but she instantly points her gun at Id and quickly requests for a backup. Instantly, 4 soldiers surrounded Id with equipped guns. Fortunately, Id uses his power to control the 4 soldiers and have them point their guns at Marina instead. The unexpected turn of events scares Marina. Id approaches Marina and negotiates that he'll join her willingly to discuss an important matter. Id clarifies everything to Marina. Initially, Id commanded to activate the irradiation when the moon was casted over the water, but he mistakenly ordered the irradiation process when the moon was still above their country, thus creating the Circle of Life. The radiation has caused 160 million people beyond the Circle of Life to become mindless puppets of the aliens. The main reason why Id and his kind have done this is simply to eradicate every human and relocate themselves to Earth. They chose to move to Earth since it's habitable due to the young star named Sun, unlike their star that has long died out. Therefore, they want Earth to give their species more time to live longer. Id also admits he arrived 200,000 years ago, and tomorrow, his species on ships will arrive on Earth. Moreover, his brother Ra is responsible for controlling the mindless humans outside of the Circle of Life. Ra controls them to attack the Circle of Life as part of the third wave colonization. Id asks them to help kill Ra, but they need Sasha's psychic powers to locate Ra. Marina still hesitates, but Id tells her that it's all in her hands, regardless if she believes him or not. Marina then receives a report about the recent attacks on their posts, meaning the third wave has begun. Marina knows they lack time and people, and so she risks to give what Id wants. Soon, Marina, Sasha, Xenia, and Id depart to the outpost in search of Ra. During their travel, Marina questions Id about his species. Id can live long unless killed. He can regenerate from any type of wounds and diseases. Xenia admits to everyone that he trusts Id and testifies that Id cured his terminal sickness. Upon their arrival at the outpost, Dolmatov and his men welcome them. Id then demands for a quiet room for Sasha to use his psychic powers. After a while in a vacant room, Sasha focuses on searching for Ra's location through his mind. Id then covers his eyes, then his body starts to shake as he sees Ra in his visions. Sasha then unconsciously draws a building on his notebook. Id recognizes the building is the skyscraper in Karav in which Ra stays. Meanwhile, Sasha sees Ra turn to him in his vision, causing him to wake up immediately. Now, Id knows where to find Ra. Simultaneously, in Kurdi village, fully armed Lieutenant Maxim and Yura enter the mini store nearby. They find scattered food on the ground as if someone must have entered. Immediately, they plan to set up grenades in case the enemy returns. As the night comes, Travel 7 continue to observe the village from their post. As they detect movement in the mini store, they rush back in. As expected, their ambush plan worked. However, as they move closer to the body, they discover that it is a teenage boy named Stiopa. Olya films the whole thing, making Lieutenant Maxim furious again towards her. The soldiers carry Stiopa to their base to treat him. As Stiopa wakes up, Lieutenant Maxim asks him what he remembers. Terrified, Stiopa responds that he is searching for food in the store every night. He gets blown off from the ambush, he added. He convincingly tells the lieutenant that there's no other survivors besides him. Lieutenant Maxim bursts into anger as his plan affects an innocent civilian. He continues to converse with Stiopa face to face. Stiopa unexpectedly grabs a knife to pierce Maxim's neck. Yura continuously shoots Stiopa to death. The squad is in shock. Suddenly, a group of armed civilians arrived. They start to shoot the squad's base, making the squad fight back. Later on, their base suffered massive repercussions. Numerous soldiers fall dead. Yura remains alive and continues to open fire to enemies. The enemies manage to enter their building when the squad becomes outnumbered. Yura commands Olya to fire the signal flare he handed her a while ago. The signal flare reaches the outpost. Consecutively, signal flares from different squads alert the outpost. Major Dolmatov sees it all appear one by one in the night sky. The war has begun, he says. After a while, Yura and the rest rush to the building's rooftop. Due to a low-range communicator, Yura can't ask for backup. He rests assured that the signal flare will alert the outpost that they need instant help. However, the sniper informs them that numerous signal flares appear in the night sky aside from them. Yura realizes that they're on their own this time. On the other side, together with Lavrin, is about to leave the base for his wound treatment. Suddenly, the enemy bombarded their vehicle in just a split second. Unexpectedly, a group of armed civilians starts to approach their base. Simultaneously, heavy rain of bullets approaches them. Elena does not want to leave behind Lavrin during the battle due to his injuries. Soldiers are one by one killed, whilst Oleg helps Elena by carrying Lavrin back inside the base. As their tank ammunition exhausts, they have to use any means necessary to suppress their enemies. Lavrin takes cover as Oleg grabs a weapon. Consequently, Oleg bombs on the nearby location of the enemies. The firing from the enemy stops, making the soldiers momentarily rejoice. Meanwhile, Yura plans to depart to Travel 4's base, unsure of what to expect. Yura leads the squad on their planned escape. Unmercifully, they kill enemies they find. they become outnumbered as numerous enemies begin approaching them. Yura and Olya are the only ones left to escape their base. Later on, they manage to find a garage and hide. He orders Olya to find a vehicle to ride in. Eventually, they flee the scene. Sometime later, Dolmatov, Marina, Xenia, Id, and other soldiers hastily depart by a military tank. Marina questions Sasha's whereabouts. Id tells him that Ra recognizes Sasha and may cause their mission to fail if they bring him in. Marina commands to stop the vehicle and return to the outpost. To their surprise, they watch the entire military base get completely wiped out in an instant. Numerous missiles approach the base, killing hundreds of soldiers, including Sasha. In distress, Marina points her gun at Id. Id expected the whole thing to happen, thus tricking Sasha to stay in the outpost. Morning comes, Yura and Olya arrive at Kurkino village. As Yura exits the vehicle, he surveys the devastated surroundings of the village. Instantly, he finds Oleg and the rest of his squad. Minutes later, a military tank arrives at their base. Olya sighs of relief and cries onto Dolmatov's shoulder. Dolmatov informs them of their objective to take down Ra, the one in command of the enemy attacks. Suddenly, Id exits the tank and causes panic to the soldiers in the base. Yura angrily points his rifle at him but is quickly halted by Marina. Later on, they all leave to go where Ra is. As they arrive meters away from the skyscraper, armed civilians abruptly surround them. Without notice, a civilian wrapped with a bomb trap jumps atop the building to bombard one of the military tanks. Promptly, military tanks ahead continuously fire on the enemies swiftly moving towards them. Enemies continue to chase them as they hastily drive closer to the skyscraper. As they arrive at the skyscraper, they are welcomed with another group of armed civilians. They continuously shoot them all. All enemies fall dead in an instant. The soldiers exit their tank and swiftly plan their designations. Some soldiers remain on the ground while Id, Yura, and 2 soldiers go above the building. As the enemies approach the building, Dolmatov commands his men to open fire. Meanwhile, Lavrin wakes up from a nap inside the tank, oblivious of the current situation. Despite being injured, he rushes below the tank to spot the enemies. He shoots them consecutively. On the other hand, Oleg runs out of ammunition. He heads straight to Dolmatov's position to request a small team to move to a neighboring building. Dolmatov commands him and Marina to leave while the rest of the soldiers cover for them. Oleg brings Elena, Olya, and Xenia with them to the rooftop. Meanwhile, Major Dolmatov and the rest of the soldiers are now outnumbered. Their ammunition slowly ran out. Short while, a truck containing bombs is coming their way. The soldiers begin shooting it, but it won't stop moving. Lavrin begins to shut his eyes, awaiting his death. "It's been an honor serving with you," Major Dolmatov said to the others. In an instant, the truck reaches them and then explodes. Simultaneously inside the building, Yura shoots at enemies coming down the stairs. Yura and Id luckily reach the top of the building alive. They see Ra as expected. Id signals Yura to commence the attack. Yura almost falls off the ground as Ra throws him out of the edge of the rooftop. Id rigorously attacks Ra. Id manages to tear a device from Ra's chest. Then, Yura places a smoke grenade at Ra's chest, making him fall dead. Oleg, Elena, Olya, and Xenia arrive witnessing Ra laying dead on the ground. Thereafter, Id shuts his eyes and uses his power to control the enemies. The enemies all died in an instant. Only Yura, Oleg, Marina, Olya, Elena, Id, and Xenia are all that's left. Id comforts the survivors that they can still repopulate the world. Id's logic made the group furious. Marina angrily confronts him for acting unaffiliated for what has happened. The group realizes that Id is also an alien even though he helped them. Xenia regrets helping him all this time. Elena furiously points her gun at Id, whilst Yura stops her. While the rest are disputing, Xenia grabs a knife to pierce Id. However, Id tricks him and he ends up killing Marina instead. Oleg tries to kill Id as well. However, Yura protects Id, knocking off Oleg to the floor and beating him continuously. Olya continuously shoots Yura to save Oleg. Short while, Xenia is about to kill Id the second time by jumping off the building together. Suddenly, an alien ship appears in the sky. Olya, Oleg, and Elena approach the ship as it lands on the ground. They gather weapons from the dead civilians as they board the ship. Inside the ship, they notice aliens sleeping in their sarcophagus. To not wake them up, Oleg, Elena, and Olya break their oxygen flow. They manage to kill most of them before the time runs off. However, they see innocent alien children and begin to express sympathy. The movie ends when the three spared the alien children's lives to begin a new generation on the planet Earth.